Hello, I'm Rob King. Welcome to this first chapter and introduction to Lean RPA principles and practice. In this first chapter, I'll introduce a little about myself and introduce the full course agenda before jumping into chapter 1, which focuses on why there is a need for Lean RPA training, who is the target audience for this course, what will be included in the course, before laying out the goals for the following chapters. So sit back and enjoy. So, to begin, a little about myself and why I'm here. Well, I've always had an interest in technology. That's always been a big part of my career. And actually, even in my undergraduate studies, I actually looked at artificial intelligence as part of that, something that would come back in more recent years as we see the link between RPA and artificial intelligence getting much more close. My early career, though, focused on what was called at the time rapid application development and joint application development workshops. These were very collaborative approaches and the sort of forerunners to agile working, helping to drive office automation. It was in the late 90s I joined General Electric, and as part of my time at General Electric, I had the opportunity to learn Lean and Six Sigma, and this has been a big foundation of my career since, understanding that business methodology, being able to focus on eliminating waste and focusing on what is real value, helps you select the right tools and the right processes and the right technologies for driving change. 10 years ago, I joined LV. LV is a UK insurer with a goal to introduce lean thinking into an operation that needed significant cultural change and adapt to new collaborative and empowering ways of working. 5 years into that time, I joined a new innovation team with the opportunity to bring together new technology with new ways of working, with lean thinking, with good quality and good sort of process design into a brand new innovation practice. It was the time working in innovation that really sort of brought together the opportunity to actually introduce automation. Now, this is where lean and automation really sort of came together in order to actually sort of use some of those successful practices and processes and ways of working that we'd learned to lean could be executed brilliantly using sort of many of the new automation tools. So that's my goal of this course, is really to actually introduce how Lean and Six Sigma and some of the tools in that tool set can actually sort of help you drive a much better automation implementation. So my day job, when I'm not here sort of providing your training, is director of a company called Wizard Innovation. And we're an innovation consultancy helping organizations to drive change and new ways of working and introduce new technologies such as automation. What we've particularly found is the link between lean and automation is something that's generated a lot of interest, and hence the reason for this course. This is our course agenda, and we're here in chapter 1, where we'll look at why is there a need for a Lean and RPA course? Who is the audience? What's included and not included? And what are the goals and outcomes? Chapter 2 will focus on the history of both automation and Lean Six Sigma. This will give us an insight into some of the organizations that exist out there for automation and some of the organizations that have successfully implemented Lean Six Sigma. And finally, we'll look at the sort of history, the rise of the robots, if you like, in terms of how we've got to the market that we have today. Chapter 3 will look at frameworks. These are outlines that you can sort of help to actually sort of implement your own program. And the very first one of those is types of automation. This will help your stakeholders to understand and have a common vocabulary of what types of automation there are and where they can be applied in your organization. We'll also look at other methodologies that can be used, particularly with RPA, but also from other industries that can successfully help you to implement your automation program. Chapter 4 will start to look at the elephant in the room, or people. What happens to the people and how do you address that? Chapter 5 will help you to get started, and this is where we start to look at the strategy, the impact, the game plan, where you're trying to get to, and how you actually sort of go about selecting your automation technology and start building the right skills to be able to implement RPA. And here's one of the first sort of big lessons that we learned when we started understanding the different vendors that are out there, that actually, you know, although on the surface they appear very similar, it's actually underneath they have a very different philosophies and very different strengths and weaknesses. And it's aligning those strengths and weaknesses to your own organization that will make your RPA implementation successful. Chapter 6 is all about lean, and this will really focus in on some of the lean principles, and we'll understand particularly the 7 types of waste, which really will help you to optimize your processes. Chapter 7 moves swiftly from the lean thinking into how you can apply this practically in terms of running your pilot, in terms of process design, and actually your process measurement, and also be setting the objectives for where you will go once you've completed your initial pilot, so you can move beyond the pilot. Chapter 8 is all about developing your first automation. So here we'll actually start to focus on the more technical side and the different vendors and how they apply sort of automation for your organization. Chapter 9 will start to look at operationalization. So this is really moving beyond the pilot and starting to actually put this in place and building potentially a center of excellence, if that's right for you, and what you need to put in terms of people, structure and governance to have a successful, long-term and sustainable RPA implementation. Finally, chapter 10 sort of mops up all of the sort of miscellaneous other topics. So we'll look at some of the challenges that you'll face and how to overcome them, some of the key benefits, and some of the sort of differences between the different tools and techniques that you may have heard of, whether that's BPM, RPA, Lean and AI, and how they all connect together. And finally, we'll leave you with some further reading and further development opportunities. So this is our course. Welcome to chapter 1. We will see during the course that issues of scale, skills and organizational design can all be helped through the application of lean thinking. So actually chapter 1 will cover why there is a need for lean and RPA, who is the audience, what's included, and what are the goals and outcomes. So moving swiftly on. So why do we think there is a need for lean RPA training? We'll see in a couple of slides time some data to actually support this, but there is a perception that the RPA market in 2016 was worth 271 million and is expected to grow to 1.2 billion in the next 5 years. But we'll also see how that is just RPA, and there are many other elements of automation that will make that number much greater. We'll see that the inclusion of intelligent automation, cognitive and AI increases this 4-fold or more in terms of the types of other opportunities that are now being presented. The most regular question that I see when faced when talking at conferences is how and where do I begin? And we will certainly cover that during this course. The greatest barrier is often perceived as being lack of available resources, and this is a challenge, no doubt, but some of those challenges are made greater by putting too much responsibility into an individual roles, and we'll look at how those roles can be broken down to actually sort of give you an opportunity to progress much more rapidly and mitigate some of the challenges of resource. There are over 30 vendors in the RPA market today. And many more if you include cognitive. And actually one of the biggest challenges is matching up how to which of those vendors is the most suitable for your organization. And we will look in detail at how you can evaluate those vendors to be able to select the right one for you. The concept or the perception that failed RPA implementations have largely been down to a challenge of scaling, which is actually a problem of process, skills, and organizational design. 3 elements of Lean that can really help you in your RPA program to help you again mitigate this problem. There is a requirement to address 2 gaps in the current market. One is a life cycle for RPA, which we will look at, and we will also provide some other methodologies for you to look at yourself that will help you to do this. And the second is the skills to deliver RPA program and beyond. And again, this is a key element of what we will deliver as part of this course. Or in other words, we will look at how Lean can really help you with the thinking. Help you drive the strategy and drive you the right level of skills to be able to start looking at the processes. We'll look at the process layer and help you to understand how efficient and effective processes focused on the customer will actually save you time and be easier to maintain long term. And we'll also focus on the technology, which is the right technology for you. This training is targeted at both business and IT. It's applicable to all levels of the operation, from C-suite execs wishing to gain insight into new technologies through to operations staff wishing to learn the opportunities that can be provided by robotic process automation. As collaborative working practices such as Agile increase, there is a need for broader understanding of how the whole business operates. This course will provide the tools and techniques needed to not just understand, but to thrive as the workplace is significantly disrupted by the arrival of robotic process automation. IT staff can no longer say they are just doing the development, and nor can business staff relinquish all technology responsibilities, for both a wider skill set is now needed. So, no prior knowledge of Lean or RPA is required. The first lesson, or chapter 2, will provide all the foundation knowledge and vocabulary necessary to proceed with the remainder of the course. If you're already familiar with Lean tools and or RPA, then it's worth still visiting these for a refresher. So, looking at this slide, no prior knowledge of Lean or RPA. It's there for RPA developers who are looking to accelerate or improve existing initiatives. It's there for Lean practitioners looking to understand opportunities that can now be gained from robotic process automation. It's also there for operations staff looking to understand how to begin or how to automate. It's there for managers looking to scale automation after a successful pilot. One of the problems that we see happening quite a lot, the pilots simplify things too much and there's more organizational design needed. It's also there for executives seeking to have insight on both Lean and automation. And if you're interested in simply identifying opportunities, then this course will actually help you, give you some thinking around that. So, in summary, all staff at any level looking to collaborate on an automation program can gain some insights from this training. There are many training courses out there, so it's worth us focusing just for a minute and look at what is included and what is not included in this course. So, definitely what's included is a broad overview of Lean Six Sigma, automation, and the automation vendors. We'll also see the practical application of Lean Six Sigma tools and techniques as applied to RPA programs. We'll also look at strategy through game plans, and we'll also look at organizational design, both in the short term for pilots and for collaborative working, and in terms of the long term in terms of building a successful center of excellence. We'll look at skills for an efficient RPA implementation, again, both at the pilot level and at scale. And we'll actually look at some small samples of RPA development. However, on the flip side, so things that aren't included, this is not a black belt or green belt training course. So it doesn't provide you with an in-depth understanding of all Lean Six Sigma principles and skills. We're covering the ones that apply particularly for RPA. We're not providing an in-depth understanding of the vendors or the automation tools. There are many training courses out there that will focus in great detail on the very specific automation tools. However, we will be looking at how to select the right vendor for your organization and what are the differences between the vendors. We're not looking at agile working specifically. Collaboration is a key part of this. Facilitation and problem solving skills are also actually a key part of what we do, but are not covered in details. Agile, facilitation, problem solving are all tools and techniques that are good add-on training sort of down the line. And although we're going to mention how they fit together, we're not going to sort of cover things like BPO, business process outsourcing, BPM, AI and expert systems. Again, we're going to focus specifically on the Lean and the RPA elements. So if this course is still for you, please continue. So this is our last slide before I'm going to hand over to you for some work to do yourself. So over the next 9 remaining chapters, we're going to sort of revisit our goals slide to understand what we've covered in each chapter. So what we're going to cover, first goal is to cover lean and automation. So what you need to know about the journey so far. You've got to understand why you need lean automation, who are the automation providers and how to select the right one. We're going to look at the 6 key skills needed for a successful RPA implementation, and while development is one of those skills, there are many others that are very important. We're going to understand customer value, waste elimination and continuous improvement, the essence of lean thinking. We're going to understand how to prepare and execute a pilot and how you select your first process. We're going to look at how you engage stakeholders and how you communicate automation through the different progress as you mature from knowing nothing to a full-blown scaled implementation. We're going to look at automation concepts. How does automation work? Why does it work? Why is it different to other tools that went on previously? So we're going to look at automation, and we're going to look at a few simple automations. And we're going to look at scaling. We're going to see what happens after you move beyond the pilot and how Lean and RPA can really help you to operationalize your program. And finally, how you sustain your automation program for long-term success. So the next is back to you. Throughout the course, we're going to have exercises. Now, if this were interactive, we would do this all together. However, as this is pre-recorded, it's a moment for you to sort of pause the video, reflect, and do the instructions on the screen. This first exercise is a very simple one. Simply now understanding what we've set out as the course, what are the things that you personally are hoping to achieve from the training. So, pause now, and then come back in a moment. Welcome back. So, having written down your expectations, we'd love to hear from you what you have to say. On the RPA Academy site, there is a forum for discussions, and the link's there, the rpaacademy.com/social, and you can link in, and we'd love to hear from you and give our own feedback in terms of your expectations, and we'll have several opportunities to feedback through the forum as we go through the course. So this brings us to the end of chapter 1. Thank you for listening, and hope to see you again for chapter 2.